Yo! Welcome, everyone, to Swim or Sink 105. This is Vapor on the mic with Keon, and we are going to get ready for another amazing Swim or Sink here. Keon, how's it going this evening?
I am doing well. I'm really excited to see this how this Swim or Sink is going to go. How about you?
I am excited. I'm on mic with SOS once more. Everything seems right in the world, and we're going to start out with some pretty long-time teams we have here, Stargaze and Wipeout Punks as our first matchup.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be curious to see how Stargaze and Wipeout Punks how they're gonna be taking on this Swim or Sink in the first round here as we got Inkling Art Academy zones coming up here, Vapor.
Yeah, Inkbot Art Academy Splat Zones. If you're on the side of Stargaze, you want to get Captain Happy, the Charger player for Wipeout Punks, off top mid. You don't want that Charger to get set up. We saw in the previous edition of SOS how strong Charger can be. I think it was last week in semis where there was a unscoped Charger that just moved up, got a quad that locked out that entire game. You don't want that to happen if you're Stargaze. And Wipeout Punks, not a team to scoff at.
Yeah. If they take full advantage of that Charger position once again, this could be a very disastrous time for Stargaze here. So definitely, if you're a Stargaze, look to see if you can find counters against Wipeout Punks, and it is going to be the first of the playoffs 3 matchups we have here. And really, I'm going to be curious to see how both teams want to approach this particular map combination. All things considered, you mentioned with the Charger play, don't be surprised if we see some of our usual weapons coming out here too.
Yeah, expect some shooters, expect some sloshers. This is your classic map we've known for a few years now. I think we're coming up to 7 years off this map.
That's a long time.
I think I'm a little bit off there, but I think we're coming up to 7 years.
I'll say for the sake of argument, that's pretty close enough there, Vapor. All things considered. I mean, everybody loves Inkling Art Academy. Maybe some don't like it as much as others, but you love it, you hate it.
Yeah, but just paint the zone. It's such a big zone where it's very hard to cap as well. You know, that's another thing. You have to be ready to get the recap in.
Exactly, and with that big zone also being impeded, but with some of the terrain right in that Art Academy zone, it's gonna be interesting to maneuver around. You could see a lot of players just try to work their way around said terrain or said blocks, I'd like to say, in the middle. But all that being said and done, though, I mean, it is just that one large zone that both teams have to deal with.
Mm-hmm. One large zone, you have to use your specials, coordinate out, find picks where you can, and try to move up. Getting out to that plat of your opponents is most important here, especially with such a lockout heavy map design.
Absolutely, and really for either of these teams, once you get that zone, I don't be surprised if they're going to start going pedal to the metal, start pressuring out the rest of the opponents the entire way through, and make sure, hey, we're going to make sure you have no entrances to work with coming into the middle of that zone. So there's going to be many ways that both these teams, especially as you mentioned, Wipeout Punks with the Charger, try to find ways to just continuously pressure out the others. And again, Stargaze wanting to make sure they avoid falling into that trap that Wipeout Punks might have in store for them.
Yeah, there's a few very strong players on the side of Stargaze as well, and you want to be able to move around the sides of the map. Try to take advantage of those flanks and attack mid from as many different angles as possible. Weaken out the Wipeout Punks defenses and split off the split the difference is basically what I'm trying to say with making your offense.
I think we definitely get you there, Vapor. But I mean, really though, for as you mentioned, the Wipeout Punch, if you're trying to split down the middle, of course, trying to make sure that you spend some time, of course, going on the offense, and then obviously spend some of your time on defense, trying to make sure you don't have any openings against the other team. It's going to be pretty key here, and we could keep reiterating that as much as possible, but there are a lot of ways that either team can approach this map altogether.
Mm-hmm. You can approach it from the bats, approach it straight from your plat, approach it from that left side drop area. It might not be the best, but it's still an option to make it work.
Absolutely, and really both these teams just so many ways to really go in, and really whomever probably gets the first few can easily take advantage there as well, because yes, you do have a few ways to navigate around it, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, so we should be heading into the game here in a moment or two, but this is still going to be a very suspenseful matchup.
Yeah, and this matchup we can definitely hear the sights and sounds from behind us. It will eventually be popping up here shortly, and it sounds like there's a lot of things going on over there. And I'm gonna be curious, really, with the way both teams are approaching it, as we do see both these teams coming in here. It's gonna be around 43 points remaining, and you see one of the teams there. We got the splash, and they've already got their special up.
Yeah, the Stamper, I'm pretty sure it's Stan on the side of Wipeout Punks. Just able to move out, going around the side, finds a pick on the RDB. That's a first cap for Stargaze in that fight there. Stamper going to decide to jump back. But we are about a minute 30 in this match. Zone is in favor of Stargaze, but here comes this Zipcaster trying to displace that charger on the side of Stargaze, and it works for the moment, but they need to find a zone, and that's two going down.
Yeah, a couple going down there just now, and at that stage of time, there Stargaze is actually looking to see if they can push advantage even further, with a couple members continuing to drop right now, and they've actually lost the lead. All things considered, Stargaze is able to continue right along. Down to 25 points remaining, and onwards, Wipeout there trying to neutralize everything else, and the triple ink stripe being chucked out here as well, and it's looking to be Stargaze's map to shine there as two members continue to drop.
Yeah, Booyah Bomb out. Keep that zone painted in your color, and Splash Wall is going to help out, and Stargaze is going to take this first map here after a really good lockout.
Yeah, that's a great lockout there. Yeah, Stargaze almost losing a good chunk of control there at the very beginning, but then able to wrestle that control back. And then you saw throughout that entire matchup, you saw 3 members down continuously from the side of Wipeout Punks, and Stargaze was able to continue on that pressure alone. And I gotta commend the Stamper, definitely tried their best to try to find anybody with that Zipcaster. All things considered, just couldn't find anybody else, and the control just kept on going to Stargaze the entire way through.
Yeah, definitely. Tower control Hagglefish Market is coming up next, and that charger is going to be dreadful to look out for. You don't want that charger to get set up on the tower, but you don't want to put yourself in such a bad position to not be able to stop the tower when the charger is there.
And charger placement is going to absolutely be key there. With Hagglefish Mark, you got the tends to work around too, and if the charger is in great position, and able to find a few key picks, could easily swing it in many different ways. And at that point, though, for each of these teams, you just have to be mindful of their charger the entire way through. And we saw with Stargaze earlier, they were able to continue that control on, but now when they move on to tower control, let's see if they change things up. And for Wipeout Punks, look to see if there's any adaptations they have in mind.
Yeah, well, Wipeout Punks, they need to be able to get into mid and find those spikes around. Stargaze was able to take back that control, but they were just trying to full push it through the front. Wipeout Punks weren't trying to come from the side much at all.
Absolutely, as we're about to queue right into tower control here in Hagglefish Market, and we're going to see if Stargaze can win the second one, and Wipeout Punks looking to see if they can be on the board.
I've rolled back on that Z plus F splatter scope, stand back onto that Stamper, and no charger from Captain Happy. They decide to go with the splash. So you need to be careful on where you set up those crab tanks and use those crab tanks in the best situations. Like here we have an early one, try to take out that charger early, but Machine from the flank decides to opt to back up, waste out that crab a little bit. Here comes that Zipcaster from Stan. Ooh. As it's going to be Captain Happy to take advantage. 1 going down, 2 down on the side of Stargaze. That's going to be a 3rd down as well. effective wipe there, as it's going to be Wipeout Punks moving into this first checkpoint.
Wipeout Punks taking full advantage there with the splash, able to take out a few more. Blue is of course going down. You lose the Stamper there as well. All things considered, it's still through the first checkpoint for Wipeout Punks, and Stargaze are just trying to find any entrances in. The starter needs to set up in a great location there to make this work. A trade on both sides, and it is going to be 2 down, however, on Wipeout Punks, and make that, and also 2 more on the side of Stargaze, and really the tower is just going to be resetting back to neutral as we speak here.
Yeah, tower resets back. Charger from Admiral is going to be the main key to help Stargaze get this win. Try to zone out that left side, push the Stamper back, 1 down on each side here early on.
Yeah, and it's still a really good push, all things considered there, for Wipeout Punks, able to win a lot of key fights to be able to get that tower through it to around 38 points remain, excuse me. And really, if you're Stargaze, still plenty of time to make this push happen. They already taken out two members, actually, excuse me, going down on the side of Stargaze, so it is going to be a little bit slow there, but 3 going down on the side of Wipeout Punks, and possibly some more if they want to take the tower, but it looks like they're just going to play this a little patiently.
Yes, Stamper gets picked off by the Glooga Doolies by Yeet. Trying to find out a way to push back in here is Wipeout Punks, Captain Happy, trying to build up that crab take as Stargaze moves in towards this first checkpoint. Avril on that tower, and that's going to be first checkpoint in favor of Stargaze. Here comes the Trip Strike, Booyah Bomb being held out. This is possibly a lead change here, Keon, as Rain is looking to go around that right side.
Yeah, they're just not able to punish the push even further there, and surely enough, it ends with a wipeout. And by the end of all that, though, it looks like that push is gonna get stalled and gonna be resetting back there. But as you mentioned, that leads off really huge coming into the last 2 minutes and 20 seconds, and it's just some great fighting all around to get that tower pushing right along.
Zipcaster ready to go. Here comes the Killer Whale. Work out with it. Trip Strikes as well. Here comes the Stamper trying to get your recall, but nah, decides to end up recalling themselves as they start to push tower here. Wipeout Punks getting Booyah Bombed off it. Is going to be the splash going down.
The splash going down there as well. We've mentioned with Wipeout Punks, they're trying to find any openings that they can work with their Booyah Bomb. Now trying to recap mid, trying to now see if they can get as much control of that mid as much as possible, then try to convert this into a push of the round. With tower resetting back to neutral, gives both teams times to reset and really see which one can come out on top here. Try to assert control mid. We see 2 members, however, down though. And this should be a push coming in here shortly.
Yeah, Wipeout Punks take advantage, but they end up going Stamper down. Yeet on these Gloogas, trying to control that top right area as Yovi gets onto that tower with that 52 gal. RDB fighting Captain Happy up on that right side, and the machine goes down. JB trying to put pressure the tower. They save it a little bit longer. Lead has not switched over just yet, and Stargaze holding on a little bit longer, but not before Wipeout Punks take that lead.
Yeah, Wipeout Punks holding on to certain life there, and they were able to make that happen. And right now, though, they do lose 3, but Wipeout Punks will be happy to take the lead with the last 45 seconds left to go. With Stargaze now in the back foot, with the tower having to go all the way back to neutral. Stargaze is gonna have to see if they can find control. This Booyah Bomb here has to be well placed, and it's gonna be traded. And all things considered, though, there's still a decent amount of time, but Stargaze not much room to work with.
Shot moves around the top of the screen, able to find 1, tries to find the jump as well. That's 2 down on the side of Stargaze, staggered 3 down actually, and this is advantage Wipeout Punks. Last 20 seconds, they need to get in the map, but Wipeout Punks is just like, no, let me find 1, let me move up. Charger goes down, but Stargaze isn't looking good right now.
No, Stargaze is pretty much trapped at base. Wipeout Punks is just trying to make sure they give no chances to work with here, and they are not able to recap the point. All things considered, Wipeout Punks at least ties this, and we're coming into this third map here with either team possibly stealing it for their team here in this set.
Yeah, Wipeout Punks are like, yeah, nah, this is my tower. Let's keep you guys away. Yeah. The Zipcaster from Stan though on the Stamper. It comes in clutch when you need it to. Just
Absolutely.
throw out the specials, use that Stamper to try to get behind your opponents, make the fight on two fronts, which is exactly what Wipeout Punks needed to do this whole entire game, and they did it successfully.
Wipeout Punks, yeah, the leads kept changing back and forth, and you mentioned staying on that Stampers there, just able to still stay resilient through a few lead changes, and it took a very strong push along with the team just being able to push right up into Stargaze's territory, and it just pretty much shut any idea of Stargaze trying to come back. We saw at the end, Stargaze was just trying to claw back in, try to see if they can get a tower push of their own, but Wipeout Punks just played that smartly and trying to make sure that Stargaze, no way you're gonna get that tower, and that's how they win that second map.
Yeah, well, Wipeout Punks just shut things down where they needed to. They took advantage of the map geometry. They used that crab tank in a forward position to make sure that the members of Stargaze isn't able to push back in. But you have to give the credit where credit is due to Yi. Just moving in, finding the picks, but no one was able to follow up with the picks that Yi was able to pick off.
Yeah, Yi was definitely trying their best to make sure that Stargaze, they had a chance to make sure they can get that push going, but really, when Yi was trying to find some of those picks and were able to do so, it also led to some of their team just dropping left and right by the Wipeout Punks, and yeah, Wipeout Punks was able to at least temper some of the advantage that Yi was trying to create for their team, and just overall great effort just wasn't enough by the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be heading into Rainmaker on Mako Mart coming up next here in a few seconds. So you have to be careful of that left side push. It's pretty quick, it's pretty sustainable, but if you get anywhere past that checkpoint, then everything can snowball downhill, especially because it all narrows in right in front of your spawn too.
Absolutely, and with that checkpoint being close to your spawn, it could, one wrong move could easily spell a checkpoint or possibly a game-winning push there. And we do see stand back on the Stamper, and then of course the splash and play. I am liking some of these changes though from both these teams. I like the heavy splatling from Admiral, and then of course we do see another change on the side. The Try Nouveau, especially from Wipeout Punks.
Try Nouveau, really good with this map geometry. I really love the change to heavy splatling for Avril here. Realizing it's a faster mode, you have to have a little bit of a faster weapon to work with it. It's going to be JB on this shot, trying to play around the right side, but decides to back up. Really good play with Avril helping out Bomb, trying to go at their feet, but trying to stay alive here. Yi on the backside, able to get a trade, but no one has able to pick up this Rainmaker as Wipeout Punks try to push over to this left side now,
Whoa.
Surviving the Tri-Strikes!
What? Yeah, well, great maneuvering there from Stan, able to get the first checkpoint. That was almost a very interesting pickup there, almost looking really disastrous, but great maneuvering, moving left and dodging all the Inknos heading in his direction, and that was a first checkpoint that, by all accounts, should have never worked.
Yeah, definitely that shouldn't have worked. A really good shark by Rindo, finding 3! It's the shot from Wipeout Punks. He's holding this push, not giving Stargaze any points, and is already getting the Rainmaker pop. They have that Trip Strikes ready to go, and they pop it. Try to zone out their opponents. They do end up going down to JB, but it's going to be zoning the area, and they need to hold on to that left stack. Really good play by Stargaze here.
Yes, Wipeout Punks played a little defensively. As soon as I say though, there could be 2, and there are 2 specials up on Stargaze though, but they did drop 2. All things to note there for Wipeout Punks. Yes, they did take out 3, but they opted to play a little bit more defensively, looking to zone out Stargaze, making sure that Stargaze has no chances to pick up this Rainmaker and keep that Rainmaker within their territory. And I think the Wipeout Punks tried to play a little bit more of a defensive game by the end of all that, and we do see the Rainmaker being picked up there, and the rest of Wipeout Punks just trying to push up ahead and see if they can find a few. One goes down.
On this Stamper. This Stamper is making the game for Wipeout Punks. They get the checkpoint, they keep the offensive pressure, and they have the Zipcaster to make the fight from 2 fronts. This Stamper is just making the game for Wipeout Punks, as they do end up going down to JP on their stack right now.
Yeah, the Rainmaker, even though it is stuck in Stargaze...
Is there a flank? Try Slasher on the flank.
Yep.
Finds the heavy from behind. They do end up trading out, but man, that slows down Stargaze a lot.
Yeah, that flank able to at least take out one and then completely slowing down this push that Stargaze is trying to fight for themselves here. And Stargaze is just trying to find any entrances here. We do see the Zipcaster going online. Can we see the Zipcaster finding a few there, trying to cause a lot of havoc to Stargaze? It is going to be a 1-for-1 trade here. The Tri Nouveau has went down as well. But I'd like to note here comes the Triple H. That's exactly what I was going to note there. The special usage has to be on point. But the Rainmaker is dropped on the left-hand side, and it's just not in the greatest position. But this could give Wipeout Punks a chance to possibly create so much havoc for Stargaze.
Dan trying to play around that right side of the map, getting called out by Stargaze, forcing them to back up. But that's a really good play. You want to take the fight from two fronts, and that's what Stan has been doing. Always been on that off angle. Yovi does end up going down to a bomb, 2 down on the side of Wipeout Punks, but that doesn't stop any of this offensive pressure. Wipeout Punks have been on top this whole entire game. Stargaze unable to get in.
Stargaze is just having a rough time having to deal with this two-faced approach here that Wipeout Punks is just dishing at him. As you mentioned, that Stamper's just causing a lot of trouble. Soon as we say that, the Stamper does drop, and it's 2 members down. We could be seeing a checkpoint here if they're able to break it through. Stargaze is able to take the splash, but they do get
the Stamper.
Wow! And look at that, it's a double! The Stargaze gets a double there. What an excellent maneuver, but is it enough?
JB trying to help out Stargaze, trying to make the play. Less than 40 seconds left on the clock. Avril with the Rainmaker. 2 down on the side of Wipeout Punks. They get the check. That's the stagger 3 down. It's only this Crab Tank, last one alive for Wipeout Punks. This could be a lead change here.
This has to be a lead change, but it has to start with Stargaze having to push right up, but they were getting punished left and right. The jump is going to get punished here, and this is Stargaze. Their time is slowly running out, and that's a huge double that Wipeout Punks just picked up, but Wipeout Punks do lose 3, but it is a Wipeout on what? On Wipeout Punks. Stargaze has a lot of members up there. All they need to do is just move a few more inches to swipe the lead, and they just got to move 2 more leads. They got it!
No lead there. The bomb just shut it down last second. And Stargaze waited just a little bit longer. That's an easy lead change.
That should be, and I saw the message there that they did drop the lead. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe Stargaze, yes, they did. They did win this third map. That was a huge back and forth, and that was insanely clutch in the last 30 seconds of all that.
I did not see the lead has changed message, and I'm like, oh wow, did it really go in favor of Wipeout? I did not see that message, but that cut it so close.
That was insanely close. It looked really disastrous for Stargaze. Wipeout Punks just playing on 2 different flanks, but in the last 30 seconds there, Stargaze was able to get the checkpoint, and they wiped out the rest of Wipeout Punks, which was huge because with that last 20 seconds there, all Stargaze needed to do get a few more points to swing it home, and that is exactly what they just did. And they were able to swipe Rainmaker in what almost has been Wipeout Punk's map to win, and Stargaze just snatched it away from them.
Yeah, it comes down to the closing points. You don't want to get wiped in a very bad situation, and that's what ended up happening. Wipeout Punks ended up going down at the very end, and going down in a wipe 2 consecutive times. In less than 15 seconds, that costed them right there.
But I have to call it how insanely clutch Stargaze came out of all this. It was just only the first checkpoint. All you gotta do, move a few inches from the checkpoint. All you need to do is just make it there, and that is what Stargaze did. And again, we mentioned it before, all it needed to be was just a few more fights, and Wipeout Punks looked like they got them cornered, but Stargaze just stayed resilient the entire way through, and they were able to swing it back.
Yeah, so Stargaze was there, Stargaze was ready, they took the fight when they needed to. They were on the back foot the whole time. They had Wipeout Punks be on the more defensive end the whole entire game. So it just forced Wipeout Punks to switch their idea on how they want to play the game, but they weren't ready to make that switch yet.
No, No, and Wipeout Punch just got caught in the worst possible location. Well done to Stargaze though. They take home the set against Wipeout Punks 2-1, and it's just and that's gonna be a very interesting set to start off with in this 105th edition of Swimmer Sync here, Vapor.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem like we do have a few things going on here. We'll get this figured out momentarily. But next up, we're gonna have Hydra versus Harbor coming up next.
We are back, everybody. Welcome to Swimmer Sync 105 once again. We got our next matchup queued up. It's Hydra versus Harbor. I'm Kyon. Once again, Vapor joins me for this for the second play all 3 match. As Vapor, this is gonna be a really fun one that we're gonna be seeing between these two teams.
Yeah, I recognize the team name Hydra. I feel like I've played against them before, but I don't recognize any of the players off the top of my head, which is throwing me off. It's one of those situations.
I think we've all been there where we encounter players that we either play in open or series, and then we just think, why do I recognize that name before? I feel like I should, and then it turns out I'll remember down the road, and that's probably that's exactly how we've all been there before, baby. Yeah. Because we can all sympathize.
Well, we love it here. Harbor, I don't really know much about them, but what I do know is that we'll be starting off here on Clambless Brightwater. So, you might see a few Hydras come out.
This is a very backline happy map in my personal opinion, because there are a lot of ways to just completely fresh out the rest of the opposition there just with range alone. So as you mentioned, don't be surprised if we see Hydras. It is, after all, Brightwater Springs, but at the end of it. But excepting Clamblitz, where the barriers are placed, it's one Wipeout could swing the fortunes of many is the best way to phrase it, because that could easily lead to a very quick push if done correctly.
Yeah, and it's hard to get back in as well. If you have a slosher just move up, like right beneath that ledge, you're in some dangerous trouble. You have to build up your Booyah Bomb, your Tri-Strikes, or something just to zone out that one area, just to be able to move back in.
Absolutely, and I'll be intrigued to see how both teams, Hydra and Harbor, how they want to approach this map all together. You mentioned, maybe Hydra's could be a fun pick. I wouldn't be surprised if we also do see, of course, the typical weapons such as Charger E-Leaders, especially there too. Yeah,
definitely. It's Brightwater. You could probably expect a Charger or something with a range to come out. Explode, Ballpoint, Hydra. My brain is starting to blank out right now, but even Jack Squelcher might not be a bad option just because of that range value it can have in mid.
So what I can imagine that some teams are going to do. All right, let's take a look at the checklist here. Does this have range? Okay, maybe this is playable. Does this have range? Yeah, this is still playable. Does this have range? It's still very playable, and that's, I'm pretty sure, what both teams are probably going to be thinking. But don't be surprised also if they're going to throw us a curveball with possibly a lot more shooters or other weapon or other close midline weapons there as well, as we are queuing into map number 1. And there's that E-Leader that I was expecting there too.
Yeah, Hydra not out with any Hydra this time, but we do see an E-Leader, so we're not far off. But I want to point out, watch out for those Tetra Dualies from Rally.
Yup.
Tetra Dualies could be very scary, especially on the few flanks.
Those Tetra Dualies can always be devastating if you are not ready for it, and especially with the specials, with this being Reef Slider, actually not the worst choice to play in Brightwater. There are 2 members that are going to drop right out of the gate. They make that 3 down to get things going.
Yeah, Ink trying to build up a few specials there. Here comes that Crab Tank zone now as we get a few points in. E-Leader trying to come in with a few additional points, but unable to get any points on the board. It's just going to be the one and done power clan push as Hydra starts to push right back in. They try to clear out their opponents as the Harbor ends up going 2 down.
Yeah, Harbor going 2 down is going to give Hydra some time to work with there, at least retake mid and then definitely farm up plans for their clam economy to see if they can get a push going. I like to note here though, 2 specials are going to be online from Hydra there. They got the Booyah Bomb and the Big Bubbler going to be queued up here. So if they're able to win a fight, expect those to get popped right away. And now they got the Crab online if they can take advantage, but the B Junior drops.
B Junior goes down, and this other 52 gal able to find one. Can they find the other? If they do, that's going to be huge for Hydra, but they're just like, nah, get me out of here. But what good movement. Keeps themselves alive. They're going to dive on this player. It's going to be the splash, but they end up going down. But this time with help, they're able to find the trade out there, and we're back in the stalemate.
It is just an absolute stalemate between these two teams when you see two members from Harbor dropping a bit there, and one of the members dropped there with the power clamp. A very unfortunate sighting. The grab tank was popped though to at least pressure out the rest of Harbor and try to find a push right along. And they do have a path open. All you gotta do is throw that power clamp in. You've done so, and just one more clamp or even a power clamp for extra love, and that is what we're gonna see here. As I was wondering where the points was ticking down, and of course we had to see a communication error.
Hopefully that's just a spectator DC rather than a full lobby disconnect. Hopefully, so these teams can keep playing out without anything bad going on. We'll figure things out as we move forward here in a few moments as we get word. But still, the Tetras can move around those sides, build up that reef slider and pull around on flanks. That's the most important role for Tetras as it tries to move around.
Yeah, and the Tetras were starting to become a huge problem. We did see before we had the communication error there that Hydra had a great push up ahead into that barrier and was able to, and should have been able to flip the lead the other way, and that's what we did see there before the disconnect happened. So Harbor had a one and done push, which pretty much meant there was some free power clamps in the making. All that Hydra needed to do was assert control of mid and then just try to continue to zone out the rest of Harbor there, and that's what we did see so far. And now we just gotta wait for further updates to see what's going on with both teams in Brimewater.
Yeah. So it does seem like it's just a spectator DC, so this game will play out and score will stay the same, assuming no other shenanigans happen. But we'll get update on the score here with this Brinewater Clam game in a few moments once regulation of the game does end up ending.
And we'll give you these updates when they do appear. All I can imagine in my head, Baker, is we gotta beacon Parkland. Let's see if we can take one or two, and then all we can internalize. We can do some imagination as to what could be happening with both these teams. Could they be dealing with the slope? They might have lost a few. We can pretend that they were probably catching on a power clan. Maybe we could have imagined a KO by the tail end of it. We can all imagine a lot of scenarios in our head as to how both these teams are playing. And again, it looked like a close back and forth. It looked like one of these teams could easily take it there with how close it was.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like it's going to go to time, probably into overtime as well. But I feel like the big difference there is the Tetras. I know I'm talking about the Tetras so much, but having that way to skirmish around, Tetras is that weapon that tries to make you fight on multiple fronts, and that is the key to victory in a lot of these games. Getting around the back, making the team try to fight multiple different directions at once, it weakens power on each side.
Absolutely, and those Tetras could always be a problem if you're not keeping the Tetras in check the rest of the way through. And we did note what I did notice while that last match was playing out was that reef slider could have easily displaced members from Hydra. I believe that was a member from Harbor that had the Tetras on hand, and that reef slider was almost going to create as much havoc. We saw from the previous set how one member with their specific weapons can cause so much havoc for the other team, and we could have easily saw that with those Tetras in play. And it looks like we do have a result that should be coming in here shortly between these two teams.
Yeah, we're trying to figure things out here. We're going to wait for an official word on anything before we say what the actual result is. But let's take a quick look heading into spot zones on Museum de Alfonsino.
Yeah, it looks like we might be seeing. We're still waiting on those results, but while we are waiting that, as you mentioned, we can look ahead to Museum d'Alfonsino. We do see the what I like to personally call the spinning terrain there down the middle that both teams will have to just deal with. In certain map modes, that's where you could see it be taken advantage. It could just also get in the way for some because hey, it's also a part of where that large zone is in Museum.
Yeah, definitely. This is such of a lockout heavy map. I honestly don't know why this is liked so much, because once you clear out mid, then it's effectively a lockout. So.
It looks like we do, and it looks like we did hear the result from the first map there, and we do see with with scoreboard that we see here, Hydra did win the first map on Brinewater Springs Clan Blitz, and there was the back and forth between the two teams. Hydra just appeared to have come out on top after all that. So congratulations to Hydra for map 1, and now both teams will have to look forward to map 2. And as you mentioned, and just to resume the previous point here, Vapor, very lockout heavy map. Some people might just really like Museum, either from previous experience, from what, or they just really like the map overall.
It feels like nostalgia to me, honestly. Museum is a map that's effectively a bowl, with one way to get out of it.
That's a pretty good way to actually explain it, all things considered, Vapor. And now that I think about it, now I cannot unsee that analogy the entire way through. Let's just all be a part of this, all things considered. And thanks for throwing me off there. But yeah, as you mentioned, really, both these teams, I don't be surprised if we do see almost basically similar-ish weapons. What worked in Brinewater Springs in the previous map, this could almost work here. Obviously, different map mode, but don't be surprised if we do see some consistency. But also, I have been wrong before, so maybe they'll throw a curveball on me as always.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we'll definitely see something come out here. I expect to see the E-Leader come back out. But you don't want that E-Leader to get up on your spinner. Anything where an E-Leader just pushes up is going to be game set match from there on out. But this is only game 2, so it won't be set.
Nope, it is a play all 3 after all, Vapor. And yeah, the E-Leader can always just cause a giant mess. If that E-Leader goes unchecked, and we could also say the same for other different ranged weapons if they're able to find just very quick picks or along the way. So really, if the E-Leaders or the Chargers or any other long range weapons, even Hydra's there too, if they are left unchecked and just allowed to do whatever they can to help the team win, it could be disastrous. And we'll be curious to see how both teams want to approach it. It looks like we were about to be loading here shortly, and we are.
Yep. Museum, the Alfonsino splat zones. Expect a Tentra flank. We see a Squiffer swap out here. Double splash on the other side. What else do you want more from this here?
I mean, these are your usual weapons, and I know you talked about the Tetras in the previous one, and we're gonna see rally back on those Tetras for Harbor. Harbor already gets the first cap here of the zone, so now they're just trying to see if they can pressure out Hydra, make sure they have no room to work with on either side. And speaking of which, there's gonna be one down, but that with the triple lane strikes being thrown right into the zone is gonna flip it the other way. Hydra has the point back, at least gives some penalty points to Harbor, but Harbor drops 3. A lot of trading back and forth. Harbor gets out of the points.
Time has to hold on, but they just can't. Tetra jumps in. This is what I don't like about Museum here. Once you lose mid, where it comes down to, alright, everyone else is on that spinner, and the only thing you can do is drop into the bowl, then it's really hard to get back in. You see here, Splash moving around the side, finding 1, finding 2, finding 3, that's another wipeout, and exactly down to the script. They have to drop into the bowl, where all of the members of Hydra are just there.
Yeah, all the members of Hydra are just waiting on Harbor to just drop down and then just continuously pick them off one by one. Harbor was trying to find entrances the entire way through, and they weren't able to do so. They might have just found one here, though, as they drop 3, and the point is going to be flipped back into Harbor's direction, and that's a lot of points on the board for Hydra, and it gives Harbor enough time to work with.
Moved up a tad bit too far. If they just chilled back in mid, they would have been just fine. It forces everyone from Harbor to drop into that bowl, but no, it's going to be Hydra pushing up, Rally able to take one, but rolls off the map. That's a Museum moment right there, if I've ever seen it myself.
A certified museum moment. Put that in the memory banks there as the Tetris just rolls off. But all things considered, yeah, even though they roll off, though, the rest of Harbor, they're still keeping up with this pressure. In fact, this is going to be a lead switch here. Harbor has a lead to get things going, and the Tetris were left unchecked once, and they might be able to continue this through. This could be a KO coming in here shortly, Vapor.
Yeah, Splash goes down in zone, Bubble is popped, they need to find a neutral, they find a neutral, but can they hold on? Splash trying to pop the trip strikes to go down, this might be a flip here, and it is in favor of Hydra.
Hydra holds with one last breath, and Harbor is dropping members, but they were able to at least neutralize, buying themselves, again, more time. That is still plenty of time, though, for Hydra to at least swing it back and possibly get the KO, but for Hydra, great usage of the specials is gonna be key here. You got these splashes special. The crab is gonna be online if they choose to do so, and it's gonna have to start. They have to make sure that they can find the rest of Harbor as soon as they can to see if they can turn this into a KO. 2 members of Harbor go down.
Yeah, but the zone is still in favor of Hydra, but this is the main difference between the first push and this push for Hydra. They aren't pushed all the way up. Yeah, they got the Wipeout before so they could, but they pushed everyone except for 1 member up. Now look at Hydra. They have everyone down into this bowl. Here comes the reslider, and they're just getting pick after pick after pick. Harbor has to move in, but they just can't. What? Machine, that's going to be a delayed quad right there, and Hydra is an advantage. They're looking to take this knockout.
Yeah, Hydra, all they need to do now, with a huge delayed wipe, you see the specials coming on here. The coordination needs to be key to make sure that Harbor doesn't force neutral. Harbor's trying to rush right in, and we... Another certified moment there. Of course, we had to see it at the tail end of that moment. We have been... That's a little unfortunate, but it looked like we might have be seeing a KO here shortly, but the way the specials were being dished out here, Vapor.
Yeah, it still could go either way. The zone's starting to get painted by Harbor. By Harbor. But Hydra just pops the specials. It could go either way. We see one of those trip strikes at the top of the screen, not near the zone. We don't know where any of the others are going with what we see in the still shot. But either way, the zone could still be neutralized. It's whoever comes on top of... Whoever wins this next upcoming fight is going to be whoever wins that game here.
Yeah, with the way that you saw Hydra just continuously winning that fight, that delayed wipe there, Vapor. That with the way the specials were being farmed out, you could have seen the crab tank and the triple lane strike to at least force neutral there, being a huge playing a huge factor, out of all that. And unfortunately, we had with a certified museum moment also comes with a certified communication error moment there as well. So we'll have to wait for updates. We'll have to wait for updates to see what happened in that Museum Delphonsino Splat Zones map, everybody. And so hang on tight. We'll see what we can hear from them. But Vapor, what did you like from both these teams leading to that one? Especially about that it went so back and forth, and Hydra was able to recap with one last moment in them.
Let's take a quick look at how those holds ended up going on. The biggest play was when Harbor made their hold. They pushed it all the way down to 1 as I end up kicking my desk here, but Harbor pushed it all the way down to 1 remaining, and what did they do? They had 3 people chill back, and they sent their Tetras up onto the plat of Hydra. Yeah, you can afford to lose a Tetra because they have quick respawn, but you can't afford to lose everyone else, so you just leave everyone right beneath the ledge. That's what happened, and they succeeded off of those pushes. But Hydra, their first push didn't go as planned. They got the full wipe, and they sent almost everyone up onto that plat, and that was almost an instant retake from Harbor when they pushed back in.
Yeah, Harbor was able to at least force a small retake there and at least get something back there, but Hydra kind of got the sense, okay, we're able to stop them. We were able to win some of these points with the points remain and the penalty points that they had, and I think around that retake it was around the 230-220 marker. A lot of time. There was no reason to panic. You just had to stay resilient, try to make sure you take control of plat, pressure out the rest of Harbor, either through specials or just be able to find all the picks, just shut down any openings that they had to retake the zone. There were multiple times, Vapor, that we saw where Harbor was able to force neutral on that zone, but Harbor wasn't able to quickly wrestle back. Hydra just stuck together and just were able to stop Harbor from getting any sort of retakes there when they had the chance.
Mm-hmm. And it does definitely seem like it is a spectator DC as well, so we'll get the official scoring on what ended up finishing that game here. But Tower Control Surgeon Shipyard is going to come up next, no matter who won this. We're going to see Tower Control Surgeon Shipyard, which can be such a snowball heavy map as well.
Yeah, just a few picks in Tower Control Surgeon Shipyard, especially with the pathing there as well, could always lead to certain demise, probably even a few checkpoints there. But one key thing to note here, Vapor, especially with the fact that it's Surgeon Shipyard, there are two ways to come in, and there are many opportunities to just flank the opposition, try to get an extended tower control push here in Sturgeon. So as you mentioned, things can easily get out of hand if either team isn't careful.
And it does seem like Hydra was able to finish up and take that knockout there at the very end. So really good play by Hydra. They used those specials to their advantage, and they were able to hold off all the members of Harbor from recapping there.
Absolutely. I mean, with the way that previous map, you kind of got the sense that Hydra would have been able to hold with the way they were just smartly using their triple ink drakes and their crab tank to make sure, okay, we're almost there. We just need to make sure that Harbor doesn't get the take back, and Hydra's able to at least take it home for that KO. So now for Harbor, there is a chance to take the third map, to at least get the third map here in this play all three. Hydra looking for that 3-0 against Harbor. And do you expect any difference here between the previous map and Sturgeon?
Yeah, so Sturgeon, it's definitely a lot more snowball heavy rather than it is lockout heavy. Mm-hmm. And there's a pretty big difference with that. Sturgeon, you move closer to the spawn, but it's hard to just push back in. Your spawn's a little bit far out of the way. But with Museum being so lockout heavy, you just can't move into any key positions at all.
Absolutely, and exactly what you mentioned there, with the fact that things can snowball there with Museum because it was, of course, Zone's Museum previously. The other team can just continue to pressure them as much as they can. With this one here, the key thing here is going to be how do both these teams, who will win out on some of these fights here, because if depending on how many of those members go down, it can easily lead to very quick checkpoints, and you absolutely do not want to lose any members along the way there in Surgeon Tower Control. It looks like we might be being queued in here to this third map.
Yeah, Sturgeon, Shipyard, Tower Control. Let's expect to see those testers from Rally come back out once more. See the E leader as well. Harbor going out to that stamp, or is it actually Hydra going out to the stamper on Vandas?
Yeah, so from the previous map, I think they originally had a splash and the Neo splash. They're gonna have battles on the Stamper this go around. So an interesting change, but I actually am a fan of that change there to the Stamper there, especially with if it's a great use of the Zip Caster, you can make things happen. Again, I praise the Stamper a little too much here, and Harbor is able to take out 3 members. This is what I get for praising one team Stamper a little too much. We see a push coming right along.
Yeah, and it's only the Stamper last one alive. They do end up getting picked off. And this is where the snowball happens. Your ranged weapon, your E leader from time is just sitting on that tower. That's a full wipeout. Harbor's gonna push all the way up as the Tetras and Shot do come out of respawn, but no one is even able to contest this tower. Second checkpoint going for 3. Bao able to stop it a little bit longer, but the snowball was on its way right before the disconnection once more.
We had to have a third communication error happening here. Of course, it had to happen on all 3 maps, but it's certified anything moment at this point. Yeah, but as you mentioned though, the snowball was about to just go full throttle there, and it looked like Harbor's push to just absolutely shine. Hydra just had no chance to just stop that push when it comes along and again, we have to wait for the result here to see who takes home the third map here in Sturgeon Tower.
Yeah, we'll just await the result for that. But it does definitely seem like we have a few issues. We don't know if it's Nintendo server or if it's just connection to the other players, because this didn't happen in the last set, I don't think.
Yeah, the last set just went right along, and of course we had to have we had to have this set where all the issues do happen. Some certified moments left and right, but of course
Hmm.
these comm errors do happen. We've all been there before, even if you're a spectator or a player. Obviously, the worst feeling if you are a player playing with the communication there as well.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it just be like that. Sometimes it's just like, all right, nope, maybe next time.
You ever get the feeling that sometimes if you're playing turf war, you're playing open, you're playing series, you're like, okay, we can easily push this through, we can easily get the win, or on the other side, oh great, we're losing the entire way through, and then all of a sudden the dreaded words just appear in front of your screen vapor, a communication error has occurred, and if you're on the winning side, you just start feeling all sense of dread, just like, oh, it could have been ours, and if you're on the losing end, well, at least you've been saved.
Yeah. Hey, at least none of the players have to see it themselves.
Absolutely not.
At least for the sake of the tournament, it's only the stream. It's only the spectator.
Absolutely. So even though everybody in chat, these comm errors do happen, just a bunch of whether it's a Nintendo moment or some sort of internet issues going on, at least the game is playing out as we've seen in the previous two maps, and it's going to be the exact same here. So we'll have to, or what might be the same thing here, we never know. So we're having to wait official words on that. But I do want to go back to Vapor, how Harbor just immediately, quick wins there right away, just 3 members down, and it just completely got out of control.
Yeah, Harbor was just like, nah, hold this, let me just move on. And it's just like, how do you stop it from there? With how long it is taking to get word, it does definitely feel like that push from Harbor was stopped. So we'll find that out here shortly. It does feel like that push was stopped. So if Harbor's able to make another push, go in for the knockout, or if they just have to stall the game out from there. But Hydra still has a chance to possibly win this.
That's very true. So, Vapor, I'm going to entertain you something here while we're in the results here. You kind of described it here too. You know how the push either it looked like it was on its way to being stopped, or Hydra could have easily retaken. It's kind of like this old choose your adventure game that is kind of unfolding before our very eyes here. You could see one scenario you could pick but it's like happening in real time. It's happening in reality. In one scenario, you see Hydra possibly gain a 100-0 or a KO. On the other scenario, we could have seen, Harbor gain the 100-0 or the KO, or Hydra gain the stop and then turning it back around. But if they were able to do that, then it spawns another set of routes there where either Hydra was able to run it back, or it's going to be Harbor able to take it home.
And word on high is Hydra is able to find the 3-0 sweep, which is really good for them. After such a poor opening, Hydra's able to run it all the way back and get the knockout themselves, or even just take lead.
Absolutely. You mentioned it before how that push was going to get stopped. Harbor was on their way to just completely blitzing out Hydra, but things started to completely fall apart. It either fall apart on that push or it happened maybe a few minutes, maybe 3 minutes down the road. But what we saw there, Hydra was able to at least run it back home and then complete the 3-0 sweep. Again, it's like a choose your adventure game here. You could envision so many scenarios in your head in terms of how we got to this point where Hydra got the win. But at the end of the day, the record book says Hydra completes the sweep over Harbor.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how close it is. On the record books, it's just flat out how it is. But how close each game was, we have no idea on record.
We could just think about all the hows that happened here. How it's like, why did this happen? all that fun stuff. This is it's all just a big interaction, and it's just all, imagine it in front of our very eyes, Vapor. All things considered. I mean, Vapor, just a quick recap here for all these three before we take a quick break. I mean, Hydra was able to at least run it back in Clan Blitz and in Sturgeon, and I think all three of these maps were all just running it back despite being behind just by a tiny bit.
Yeah, Hydra was right on the back foot early on in each time. But like Hydra was able to take that early advantage, but Hydra, they kept themselves calm. They kept themselves collected as a team, and they made the push in the back half. A little bit of slow start, if you may.
Yeah, slow start is definitely the phrase for Hydra there. It took a bit to boot up on all three maps, but they definitely just stayed together as much as they did, and that's exactly how it's gonna end. And I think Vapor, it's gonna be our time here to take a quick break as we're about to load up to this next map here, or excuse me, next match, as we do have our next match coming up here. Coming up next will be Frostbite versus Catnip. You don't want to miss that. Welcome back, everybody, to Swimmer Sync 105. We got our next matchup here in this third playoff 3. Frostbite versus Catnip. Once again, I am Keon. Vapor once again joins me. He has not left the chair yet. As we got a fun matchup between the two teams up ahead.
Yeah, what we're talking about a little bit of food out here. Frostbite coming out with some ice cream that they're saying in Battlefight chat, and we have some Catnip on the side of Catnip.
That took me a second there. Oh man, and I'm gonna be excited to see how these two teams play this one out as we're about to queue in for the first map of this playoff 3. I'm not gonna get over the catnip there, Vapor. As we got Rainmaker on Scorch Gorge. What do you expect to see for this map combination?
Similar to how Museum plays, Scorch is in a bowl. There's only really one way to make a dedicated push to. You have to push to that right side unless you get a full wipe, which in case maybe push through the Grace on the left to get that checkpoint. But no, your right side is going to be the more common option you'll see here. It is a bullet again, like easy to drop in, hard to get out.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree with you there. With all the fight that could happen around the middle, in Scorch Gorge, you could absolutely just get suckered in and then just continue to keep fighting against the other team around that Rainmaker spawn area. So I'm gonna be curious to see how both these teams how they want to necessarily approach it. And to your point, you know, the checkpoint on the right hand side definitely one of the more safer and more logical options. But there have been teams that have been very bold taking the left.
Yeah, there's always going to be those bold teams. Take that left side and take advantage as much as you can, effectively. Like, we could see a heavy Splatling come out, grab the Rainmaker, push to the left side. You're probably going to have to run speed to do it. Or if we see a Tri-Slosher and Zap come out with a Tacticooler, pick up your little Sody can right there and push on through the grates, too.
Absolutely, and I'll get for me personally some bonus points if you do go for that left checkpoint there. But we'll see how both teams want to necessarily approach it. Now, I'm gonna be curious to see if we do see a lot more some less backline weapons here. All things considered, maybe because it is Rainmaker, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we do see them again.
Yeah. Assuming the players we have out here on the side of Frostbite, you could probably expect Tetras. You could probably expect a shot like triple shooter Tetra is something you could pretty much expect from Frostbite. Maybe they pull out a Slosher once in a while. I haven't talked to them in a minute, if you could say. But Catnip, I don't really know much about them. I'm excited to see what they have.
It's always fun to see familiarity with one of these teams. They could completely throw us off guard with just some unconventional or weapons, or they could go very conventional. You could be seeing more popular choices like Splash, Sloshing Machine, even a Charger there or two. So it's like a mixed bag, or it's like a mixed bag of assortments there that Catnip could dish out. But for Frostbite, we could be seeing, as you mentioned, Tetras. Shots shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, definitely. Like being able to find a way to hold forward and push up through that right side is definitely going to be big. Getting that first checkpoint is probably the hardest thing to figure out throughout this. And absolutely, you just need to push ahead of that checkpoint to build up full control. We see a Brush come out on the side of Catnip, Splash, Tetras. A little bit off. We do see Daybreak probably coming in as the sub for Frostbite, but Nautilus, nothing to scoff at either.
So the Nautilus and the Z plus F there is actually going to be a very fascinating choice there. The Brush immediately taken out. I think you were about to note that though too. The Tetra also goes down there as well. So already some quick bowling before we even start with the weapons there. We're going to see 3 members down on the side of Catnip and the full wipeout to get this map underway.
And here it comes. There's that first checkpoint. They get out of the bowl, and once you're out of that bowl, it's going to be a snowball from there, effectively. Rainmaker gets popped. You have to be so strong on the defense to hold on to this. Daybreak trying to find the pick onto that splash player. That's literally down. It's only the brush. They do end up stopping the Rainmaker in the meantime. They drop back into the bowl. Here comes the pop from Frostbite, pushing it a little bit further. 16 remaining, but watch out where the brush is coming from behind.
Yeah, you gotta be mindful of that brush. That brush could throw you off, and that's exactly what happened to Frostbite. And I gotta give credit, though. That was a clutch Rainmaker stop there by Catnip. Had that Rainmaker not go down, we could have seen a quick KO coming out of the side of Frostbite. But Catnip, what a find to at least keep this one alive there. But Catnip has a huge deficit to deal with.
This is probably one of the better stages that have that bull type play style. You're able to get that first checkpoint. You're able to push far, but it's really hard to knock out unless you're able to hold control up into your opponent's spawn. Daybreak able to find the pick on the brush, 2 down on the side of Catnip as the brush decides to jump right back in. But that's another going down. That's 3 down on the side of Catnip. No. Daybreak is just shredding and holding this far right ramp.
Yeah, it's a very good hold there by Daybreak to at least get Frostbite another delayed wipe there, but always respect the brush. The brush finds one and then stops Daybreak. In fact, though, even though it's a delayed wipe, members continue to drop on Frostbite, and they just couldn't push up with the Rainmaker at a reasonable time, and that is exactly what we're seeing here. Can this brush do a lot of work, though, for Catnip? We'll have to wait and see. This could be a quick checkpoint coming in, and it will.
Checkpoint drops in favor of a Catnip, but they still need to find control. But they just might have found it. They need to pick up that Rainmaker, though. That's a staggered wipe on the Frostbite. Catnip trying to make a push of their own. They need to find the lead, but they just don't. They're just short of that. X-Ray stops it down, finds 3. It's only the Stamper, and they're stuck in the corner.
Yeah, Catnip got very excited there. They're like, okay, we got 3, 4 on the delay of Frostbite, but they just got cornered there by the amount of ink that was coming out from Frostbite and just cornered them into a bad location, and Catnip could not take swipe lead from that one. They dropped 2. Frostbite does drop 2. It gives Catnip some time to work with, but the Rainmaker is on the hands of Frostbite. Not anymore, as the Rainmaker is dropped by the end of that one, and we're continuing to see members drop here, Vapor.
Yeah, and this is where the bowl type of shape of maps take in place here. Once you're able to get pushed up, it's hard to really push too far back in. Luna holding this Rainmaker, getting shot at by the crab, living through it all, which is really surprising. But the brush is just up there. Oh, the Charger shuts down the Rainmaker.
Oh, that was clutch from the Charger, too, because had that Charger not found the pick, you could have seen a lead flip going the other direction, but that flick there, or that pick even, by the Charger, it shuts it down. Frostbite retakes that Rainmaker, and now they're going to try to make sure that it gives Catnip a worse time to deal with here. They're going to opt for the reset.
What a bomb. Just throw a bomb in the middle of nowhere, yeet it, of course, and there one goes. Yeah, the Zipcaster from Jade on the Stamper. That's 2 down on the side of Frostbite, and ever since their push, they haven't been able to take full advantage of anything. Frostbite has just been getting shut down one after one, but every single time they're finding the Rainmaker, and that's what's holding their lead right now.
That's a good point. That's a good thing to note here, too. Catnip is getting stuck in base. There's nowhere to go, and Frostbite, as you exactly mentioned, it is a great defensive hold again for Frostbite. Yes, Catnip is able to turn picks into a quick offense, but Catnip has not found the openings that they really needed. They headed on 2 tries, and both times they were shut down. The Rainmaker resets. It's effectively a last-ditch effort for Catnip to see if they can get the Rainmaker back.
Rush trying to shark that Rainmaker, but Frostbite not trying to pop it. Strikes onto the Rainmaker.
Oh, no.
That gets 3. Theirs goes to 4th, and Frostbite couldn't steal this one away. But you have to give credit to Catnip. They were able to activate the snowball, but Frostbite was just there. They weren't able to finish the one player off every single time.
Frostbite built themselves a strong lead to get this Rainmaker push up and going. Down to 16 points remaining. They turned that first wipeout into instant offense and then allowed it to snowball to make it all the way through. Catnip was trying to replicate the exact success that Frostbite had to no avail. Every time this happened, it picked somewhere, and in one case it was the Charger, and that just shut down Catnip. And then of course Frostbite takes it home with a full wipeout. Just excellent hold by Frostbite. Things got very dicey at the end, but they were able to stay together and make sure that they did not give Catnip an inch to work with.
Catch your opponents when they least expect it. And on a stage like this, you have to expect everything. But Catnip was just slow. They had that slow start, but they weren't able to take advantage. It was the foul play from the Tetras on the side of Frostbite, able to pick up that Rainmaker pop on Frostbite's push, and opened up the way to get more and more points, just a little bit out of reach from Catnip.
Yeah, but I also have to give credit to Catnip there, because without that key pick onto the Rainmaker, you could have easily seen Frostbite take home a quick KO at the very beginning. But again, that pick onto the Rainmaker guy in Frostbite just gave Catnip a lot of opportunities to just continue to fight back. So, as you mentioned, lots of credit to Catnip to be able to make it close. But at the end of all that, though, Frostbite just stayed resilient the entire way through and able to take home that first map.
Definitely, and it's going to be the aggression as well from Catnip. They're coming in with the aggression on their side now. We're going to Clan Blitz Inkbot. You need that aggression to push onto your opponent's plat, and it's going to be a similar type way to move in. You need to work together, build up the specials, and again, Inkbot is a bullshit map like Scorch, but it's less of one because of multiple paths to move up through.
Along with the multiple paths, there are two. One is a very quick path in, the other one you have to loop around to be able to make that work. And really, I would like to see both of these teams try to farm all the specials. Make sure you can find ways to shut the enemy team down as much as they can, as we're about to be queuing in here shortly. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to try to go for quick pushes up the ramp or here, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they try to work the longer route, as we're about to see some weapon things coming in here. I will be able to speak English at the end of this paper.
Hey, this is English class after all. English class, but with Splatoon. Daybreak switching off that Nautilus to that 10-attack splatter shot. Keep that in mind. A little bit less range, but a little bit more paint and a little bit more offensive power that you can really have.
I like a lot of these changes here from Frostbite, but again, I was about to praise Frostbite, and then they drop two. This seems to always be a thing here, as we do see some movement up ahead, all things considered there, and it looks like just all the pressure coming out here, and it's going to be Frostbite playing on the back foot with the power clam. I was about to say, where is that power clam? And it did spawn 1+1 to get things going, make that a second clam, and now a lot more coming in here shortly, but Frostbite is able to shut down 3. This is going to spell what should spell the end of this push, and Vapor, it's a 1+3 to get this push started.
And it's the aggression that I noted beforehand. Catnip was ready. They wanted to make that early push, put Frostbite on the back foot early on, which they didn't have in the Rainmaker.
Oh no!
And that's exactly what's going on here. Bombs, multiple down. Rush trying to pick up the charger, but just coming a little bit short. Pops that whale, tries to keep the pressure up, but it's going to be Catnip putting more points in on the board. Reborn going down as well, 2 down on each side. Crab Tank getting picked off from behind from Daybreak. That's going to be a full wipe, but damage has been done. 62 remaining on the side of Catnip, as Frostbite has yet to make a push of their own.
Frostbite wanting to take advantage of that wipe out there, but they're going to opt to just paint a bit of mid here and just try to make sure they can pressure out the rest of Catnip. Try to give Catnip a taste of their own medicine but the T-Tech drops there on the side of Frostbite to at least get things started. And now the Tetra's dropping again. Frostbite are just losing so many of these fights. Catnip is just playing crazy aggression, and it's absolutely working here, Vapor.
Squeezer is one of those weapons that have a really high skill floor that you really need to watch out for. And if they pop off, it's almost over for you. They're able to find the charger stamp, are able to find the T-Tech, advantage Catnip in this situation as they're already up on the plat of Frostbite. Here comes the Crab Tank from the splash from Reborn. Jade able to sneak out of there, holding their position as well. This is huge, but before they get picked up by the charger.
Yeah, the Charger able to pick off the Stamper, but while all that distraction was happening for the Stamper, you saw how that barrier was already broken right away, and now a lot more clams coming in here shortly. Catnip is able to make these quick pushes work though, and Frostbite, they're just having a hard time getting out of mid and just trying to, put down get any control of mid, and trying to make a push of their own. Anytime they try to make this happen, they drop 3 members left and right, and Catnip is just playing crazy fast and aggressive the entire way through.
It's the bull style type of the map. You're able to get in, but once you drop in mid, it's hard to make a push and it's hard to back out of anything. Here comes the Reef Slider from X-Ray. They're able to find 2, and Strip Strikes from Sangura. They're able to pop the basket.
Yeah, they're able to pop the basket. I think what we're about to notice here, though, is that members were quickly dropping on the side of Catnip. The members are still dropping, though. This is full control of this barrier area here, and Frostbite has 3 up right now. The rest of the members are just completely zoned out, but where are the extra clams that they can cash in on? Here they come. It's down to 53 points remaining. 3 more could easily swipe the lead, or even a big power clam, but I don't think they're going to have an opening to do so, but they make the deficit manageable here, Vapor.
The Charger was the last person with clams ready to go for Catnip or for Frostbite, but they decided to play for life. They ended up going down in the long run. What a squid roll by Luna! Can we talk about that really quick?
Yes. Yeah, that was an excellent squid roll there from Catnip to absolutely just dodge out of that and then just stay alive the entire way through. And that was just more beautiful than anything at that point. But now, coming out to the last 42 seconds here, Vapor. Still a manageable deficit. Only a 6-point deficit, really. If you can make a push happen by taking out members, which we just saw there, a delayed double. And here comes the Reef Slider. Can Frostbite find those openings? They gave flank from the back. That was a huge find by the Squeezer. Can the Squeezer cap it off? No, but Daybreak drops as well. And out of all this fighting, though, Sungura is the only one that picks up the Power Clam.
And they're the last one alive. They're forced to back all the way up. You don't want to get caught out in mid, and that's a smart play by Sangura here. You need to find a way to make a push without going down. You're the backline. You're the glue of this team right now, and you just need to help find these picks. We're in overtime. Brush trying to find the pick onto the crab tank. Here comes that Zipcaster though, trying to find the pick onto the Power Clam user. They're trying to run for it. They throw the clam though.
Yeah, watch the pick though, but their 3 members of Frostbite are dropping and the rest of them fall. It's a delayed wipe to seal this map for Catnip, and Catnip holds despite things getting very dicey at the end here, Vapor. It's all knotted up one apiece.
And it's the aggression. They had the momentum from the end of the Rainmaker Scorch game. They continued it throughout this entire game as well. They play in somewhat similar fashions. You want to push up as far as you can, find the picks where you can as well. And you also have a brush for Catnip. You're able to get the brush around. We saw the brush in the Rainmaker game, pushing up to that pedestal, getting around the whole entire team to find picks there, but they were just a little bit too late as the players from Frostbite were able to find the picks on the Rainmaker. This time, there is no moving objective. You're able to get around, you're able to open up opportunities, and you could take it at your own pace.
Yeah, and Catnip, their pace was just play crazy fast, crazy aggressive. If we could take out 3 each time, let's get the Power Clam going. Let's paint the entire barrier. It's perfect Clam Blitz play to at least get some pushes in. Yes, some of them were small, and with one longer push that Frostbite almost had, it could have been disastrous, but Catnip was able to continuously find 3 or 4 members left and right. And that allowed Catnip to just run this one home. And again, as I mentioned earlier, got a little dicey at the end, but they were able to keep themselves composed to win it all, and I have to give credit to the Squeezer with some clutch finds to make sure that there was no opportunity for Frostbite to take advantage.
Definitely, and it's the don't let your opponent take advantage part too. We're heading into Splatzone's Mako, which is a lot more punishing with situations like that. Once you give your opponent a little bit of space, they could take not just a mile, but maybe a mile and a half. Like, that's how easy it is to take space on Mako, especially if you control those stacks.
If you can control the entire stacks and control the spacing that you need in Mega Mart Splat Zones, things will be you could be on your way to a map victory here. And that's what's going to be key for both these teams. And honestly, I think with the way both teams approach that previous map, I wouldn't be surprised if the same strategy applies here as well. Especially when you factor in the zone that Mega Mart has. It's a very interestingly shaped zone to say the least. As we're about to cue ourselves right into this one, Vapor.
Get that plus sign going. Let's do a little math here on the map. Daybreak back to that signature Nautilus E-Leader coming out over that Z plus F charger, but keep an eye on that squeezer from Catnip. They caused the most issues for Frostbite in the last game, and expect more issues in this game as Frostbite gets a huge opening finding 2 early on.
Dropping both the Stamper and the Ink Brush, now you completely lose a lot of the spacing that you absolutely need, or some of that displacement that you desperately needed there, and that's exactly what we just saw. Of course, all this goes down, and oh my goodness!
You hear that?
Hear what?
Exactly. Thank you all for tuning in. Welcome back to the Keon plus Vapor podcast here as Frostbite and Catnip probably continue this out.
We're gonna have to wait once again, Vapor. It seems to be the trend that we have seen. We're gonna, you know what, chat? We gotta have another choose your adventure game here to break down this one, because we saw a quick push here from Frostbite that basically got it down to 76 points remaining. But honestly, with the way that with the knowledge drops on the side from Daybreak, that is just unfortunate what we saw there. And I mean, you could map out Vapor like 5,000 paths with how this entire map will go. Unfortunately, we're only going to see one path, and we'll have to wait what the result of that one would be.
Yeah, and we don't really get much out of an opening minute to figure out what's going to happen throughout the rest of the game. But if you're on the side of Frostbite, you want to take control of that right stack with your Nautilus and Splash. If you control that, you're able to send the Tetris down the right side and open up a flank. Keep the E-Leader on the left side to not let anyone drop down.
Absolutely. Frostbite strategy definitely panned out. I want to note right away, as I mentioned before, the Stamper and the Brush both dropping, very detrimental to Catnip. They had to play a lot more defensively as a result of that one, basically allowing Frostbite to just take all the space and everything else in your base to make sure that they can shut them down. The key pick onto Daybreak was the last thing we saw there, Vapor, and really, we could just continuously carve out as many paths, as you mentioned. Frostbite just had the Nautilus and the Splashes just play havoc on the right hand side to enable your Tetras, and that's really all that Frostbite could really do. Catnip, we'll have to see on the world where they are playing right now if they're able to take this one home and seal the set for them.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for Catnip is that you need to activate your squeezer. Squeezer player needs paint. You need your squeezer to set up the wall, and the squeezer can do damage. They're the player that's giving Frostbite the most issue right now. They are the key player of this entire game. If the squeezer goes, Catnip will go with them.
I want to go back to that second map in Inkblot Art Academy Clan Blitz to help continue that point there, because that squeezer was so much of a problem for Frostbite throughout that entire match. And we saw at the end of that previous map there, that squeezer found key finds to basically shut down any ideas for Frostbite to return home. And that squeezer could just need to play out their minds. I believe Illumine was the person in question that had that squeezer. They just played phenomenal during that last map. So in this map, if Illumine is able to take full advantage of that squeezer the entire way through, they could take that zone map and bring it to victory.
Yeah, and just you need to get that squeezer set up. That's all it comes down to at the end of the day. Squeezer causes the most damage. Yeah, it has a really high skill floor, but that skill floor is so high where it's hard to fight once you master the weapon.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can display absolute mastery of that weapon in the squeezer with, as you mentioned, a very high ceiling, you could cause there are so many advantages you can make out of that squeezer alone, and really with Illuminate's play, I think we saw a lot of it throughout this entire set.
Yeah, and let's get the bracket here up on screen. it'll be coming up here in a moment. So you have to watch out for that. Once the players get set up, you need to be really careful about what really happens from there on out.
And I want to swing it back here, Vapor, as well, with how this entire set was in the first two maps while we are waiting on the results here. I mean, Scorch was just crazy back and forth from both these teams, with Frostbite just taking it home. But you could kind of get the sense how, with the way Catnip was playing, all it really was for them is it almost worked for us in Rainmaker. We could see if we can replicate something similar in Clan Blitz. They were able to do just that to make it be one map apiece for both of these teams. As we're about to see the pools the results on screen here in this third round. And I mean, really, this entire set has just been crazy amounts of back and forth. We would have loved to see how that Mako Mart zones panned out, but we'll have to just wait and hear from the results.
Yeah. Yep. And looking here at the results, Wipeout Punks and Stargaze both get a 3-0 over their opponents in their own group. So we did see them early on stream. They showed dominance throughout the rest of the group. So we'll see a few of those players up in the Great White bracket here coming up after these group stage finish up.
I want to shout out to some other results from the teams that had in the previous maps or previous sets. Excuse me here, Vapor. Harbor able to take that group P match against Make a Wish 2-1, and then Hydra dropping to Munchables there as well. So that's some interesting results. We could be seeing some other there from both of those teams to know, and just really excited to see how things will pan out here in bracket stages soon.
Yeah. It's always going to come down to the bracket stages. That's where everything matters. It does show that we're able to just wait for this final match here between Frostbite and Catnip. And Score reported it does seem like Frostbite is able to take the final map as well.
Yeah, Frostbite able to take home that last map there 2-1. You kind of got the sense that with that very quick push, things were going to go possibly south there, but Frostbite were able to hang on in that Mako Mart zones altogether. So that's really good for Frostbite there with that result there. It almost looked very dangerous if Catnip was able to run this one back, but no, they just stuck around and able to make it work.
Yeah, and Frostbite was just able to get themselves set up. Like, that's the biggest thing. Once that Nautilus got set up, once that Splash got set up over on that right side, you can't really push from that side, and that's really your only major escape route.
Absolutely, and as much as kind of tried to make the rest of that happen, we can only infer what could have happened behind the scenes there with the match in that Mako Mart zones map. They could have, but it looked like Frostbite had the right ideas the entire way through, and by the end of all that one, looked like they were able to take it home. Whether it was a KO or not, it's kind of irrelevant by the end of it. They were able to take this one 2-1, and that's the set result we're going to have between Frostbite and Catnip.
Yeah, so it seems like we are just going to wait for Top Cut to be seated. We're going to get to that here momentarily, but this was the final round of the group stage. The final round of the play all three.
That was the fun, and we saw like some really good matchups really across the board between all these teams. We saw that we saw Wipeout Punks and Stargaze just making this be a back and forth the entire way through, but able to take that one home there was Wipeout Punks, I believe, if memory is correct on my end. And then Hydra and then Harbor, obviously with the set that we saw, as much as we saw there on stream, Hydra able to take that one 3-0, thanks in large part to some come from behind victories there, Vapor. And then this set from what we saw, same deal, a lot of back and forth between Frostbite and Catnip. Catnip was able to take home the Clan Blitz map, but then Frostbite was able to take the rest of maps home the entire way through. And really, we saw some entertaining matchups for matches for what we saw here on stream the entire way through.
Yeah, and this is going to get a little bit more on a knowledgeable level for you, Keon. You are newer you are a newer commentator, more towards the competitive scene, but you know a team called Pekko.
Oh yeah, I have seen Pekko many times. In my illustrious history, I even knew a few. I also know a few members on Pekko there as well. They're very strong team overall. There, I've seen them in other leagues that they played very strong all together. They just for them. Obviously, they do have some of their moments, but team definitely to look out for here in Swimmer Sync.
Yeah, and you say a really strong team and they have their moments. They haven't had a moment yet. They ended up going 3-0 throughout these sets. They're going to move on to that Great White bracket. So keep an eye out for Pekko moving forward.
Absolutely, everybody. Keep an eye on that team. And I think Vapor, it's gonna be a good time for us to wait until we hear from Top Cut, isn't it?
Yeah.
In that case, when we come back, we'll get the first set of Top Cut underway. You don't want to miss Top Cut, everybody.
Yo! Oh god, voice crack there. Great white of top. I can't get words right today. Welcome back to English class where we learn how to speak. Vapor here back with Keon. Let's get top cut ready to go. SEQUOIA versus all gas, no brakes. Let's get going.
Welcome everybody back to Swimmer Sync 105, featuring Vapor having a voice crack moment there. As Vapor mentioned, it's all gas no brakes for SEQUOIA. This is the top cut match that we are gonna have for you this evening. This should be a lot of fun between these two teams here at Vapor.
Yeah, SEQUOIA, they come around once in a while. It's effectively a team of a team of a team. Basically, multiple teams coming together. It's like your consistent pickup, I guess. Like, nothing too special. You have Roundy, you have Archer, you have Bishop. Those are the only members that I recognize right off the bat. But all gas, no brakes. They're trying not to have a slow start at all. They're just going to run with it, use some extreme speed to make some waves.
I am gonna be curious to see if all gas no brakes is gonna be true to their name. The one movement is fast, and only fast. I'll be really excited to see if they can do just that. And yeah, SEQUOIA looking to see if they can stop them from going super fast all the time. There as well, Vapor.
Yeah, so SEQUOIA is just there. They have Roundy, Bishop, Archer, all really strong players of their own right. But you have to watch out for a few players of all gas no brakes. They're here in Great White for a reason. Watch out for Rhino, watch out for Gray. We're going to start things off on Tower Control Eeltail, which if you're all gas and no brakes, it could really go in your favor because all you really need is gas in this one.
The one answer to everything in Eeltail alley Tower Control is the word fast, and we're gonna keep saying fast the entire time because really, if they can, just like in previous Tower Control maps that we had earlier today, Hagglefish especially, and Sturgeon, if both these teams can get control around Eeltail alley, and it's very interesting terrain to work with in terms of its flanks and many other locations, you can get this tower can go through checkpoints very fast. So if all gas and no break can dictate their pace, they can turn this into some quick points of their own. But that's what they have to do to get through Eeltail alley Tower Control.
The first checkpoint is going to be the most contested. The second checkpoint is a little bit more free. It's hard to push in as the defending team, but if you're on offense, just set up yourself for that third checkpoint. But that third checkpoint has a really strong choke point, which makes this map so good for tower control because you need to break through that choke point to be able to get the knockout.
Absolutely, and if they can break through those checkpoints, which we're about to queue into tower control right now, that's going to be key for either team, really, if they're able to do just that. Here we go. Top cut is underway.
Lingza roller out from the side of all gas, no brakes. SEQUOIA out with that 52 Gal T-Tech combination. A little bit of your meta-sized comps, as you usually see here. But all gas, no brakes. A little bit of brakes with their weapon. They're not just going to be complete hold forward heading into this.
Yeah, and all gas, no brakes is able to at least take out a few members. So as you mentioned, not exactly they need to move forward up ahead. Drop 3 already, and all gas, no brakes. They're gonna go pedal to the metal as they take the delayed wipeout. This should be a quick push for them.
And these Glooga Dualies are going to be dangerous. Booyah Bomb wall on that slick area. You can't really push across that one. Machine falls off the map. Charger trying to poke over towards this tower, but that second checkpoint has dropped in favor of all gas. Splattershot finding another pick there, one down on each side, and this pedal is really on the metal. Keeps that checkpoint going down a little bit further. Gloogas end up getting picked off. But here comes that Zuka ready to go, ends up going down. Advantage for SEQUOIA on a retake here, but they still have so much control in favor of all gas.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes the brakes were set on the tower, and the tower now going in reverse. That is basically how that tower ends there, but that's still a really solid push, all things considered. And yeah, there's, as you mentioned, still really good control for all gas, no brakes coming into this mid to late game. You're going to see SEQUOIA with a return fire here as the splash goes down on all gas, no brakes. They should be able to get through this first checkpoint here. Still, actually, yeah, they should be able to. There's only 2 points left on that checkpoint. They're got off the tower for just a bit, so it's just slightly delayed, but 2 members dropping on all gas, no brakes. Now it's the first.
Hilo trying to hold on to this tower, use those trip strikes to their advantage, keep themselves alive, try to back up. Roundy helping out in the corner, finding a pick there. Advantage SEQUOIA as they try to move this tower towards this second checkpoint, but Roundy's alone on that right side. This is going to be a crucial fight to look out for as a Cactus using that shot, trying to bomb out that tower. Crab Tank on the left. And this tower is going to slowly back up away from SEQUOIA.
SEQUOIA was still trying to assert any of that control that they have around mid to All Gas's territory there, and it kind of wasn't quite there. They weren't able to move up ahead as much as they could, just simply because All Gas no brakes. They wanted to make sure SEQUOIA had no chance to push along, trying to put his 8 down and trying to surround them as much as they can. We do see the Trizuka coming out here shortly, but it is just going to be a bunch of neutral pushes here. Looks like All Gas no brakes out there on the tower to get things going, but the flings of drops.
This 52 gal just holding on top. They drop into mid, try to take as much space as they possibly can, push All Gas, no brakes back up. So why push on the brakes if you could just hold on the gas for reversing out? SEQUOIA having this advantage, using those trip strikes, but here comes that Zuka. Tries to slow down SEQUOIA, but it's going to be the 52 gal finding one tower. This checkpoint going to drop in SEQUOIA's favor. One decides to jump out, being the Flingza. This could be the lead change here, Keon.
It is the lead change. Members were dropping left and right there from All Gas no brakes. Just no contest. SEQUOIA goes ultra aggressive, and it pays off in dividends. They're able to get the tower to a little bit more points remaining, but it is going to stall it out. But more importantly, with where we are at in this tower control map, that's a huge lead flip at this stage in the game.
Yeah, Booyah Bomb ready to go, but they find that third checkpoint as well, which is crucial. Getting that third checkpoint, it keeps advantage in their favor. It forces something in the path of All Gas no brakes to move forward. The machine trying to find one, but ends up going down. Here comes this Crab Tank from Gray, holding on that bridge, and this is where things can get scary, especially if someone from All Gas no brakes can get set up on that top left area once this tower gets here.
And once the tower gets there, they have to make sure they break through that third checkpoint, able to stay on that tower, but SEQUOIA's trying to reverse it back the other direction, and 2 members dropping on All Gas no brakes is pretty much going to stall the attempted push here. And with members dropping left and right at this stage, All Gas no brakes are having some really crummy respawns to come back in. If SEQUOIA stays on this tower long enough and holds off All Gas no brakes, they're able to flip it. They're able to flip this to their victory. 2 members drop, and it's going to be 3 down. All that SEQUOIA needs to do is get beyond the tower or have it reset, and that's what we have. SEQUOIA taking game 1.
Yeah, the All Gas no brakes. They might have been on the gas the whole time, but are you sure they weren't in neutral? Because they didn't really have a way to make a push back in once SEQUOIA was able to get set up.
SEQUOIA basically made sure that All Gas no brakes, they had a very fast push to get things going, but then they completely ran out of gas trying to get even further along. And once SEQUOIA started to really figure out what All Gas no brakes was doing in terms of their pacing, they had to respond saying, okay, we know where All Gas no brakes, where could they possibly be? We got to start picking them off, and then if we can be a lot more aggressive than them, we should be able to make this work. And All Gas no brakes, they had no responses right away, and that's how SEQUOIA takes home this map. And valiant effort trying to drive it back the other way, but it just wasn't enough by the end of it, Vapor.
Yeah, and this is where SEQUOIA could continue that pressure, but this could also be advantage for All Gas no brakes because it's a Rainmaker. It's so easy to make a push, and you have to push it so far down. This is one of those hold forward modes, as we know. So grabbing that objective, move it forward, and that's all you really need to do to make a really good push.
in some places you might hear the phrase WM1, which is basically just keep moving forward as much as you can and see if you can find something. I think exactly what you alluded to. Hagglefish Market Rainmaker. It's the checkpoint is on a very quick to get location. So if you're able to win a fight, that could easily be a checkpoint and some more if they're able to keep that momentum going. Things can get very swingy here. We're about to load in.
Yeah, heavy splatling is something to look out for. If it has object shredder, which it doesn't, it can shred that Rainmaker so quickly. But Roundy does on that 10 attack, so watch out for some strikes from the side of SEQUOIA to get some quick pops.
Also, something to quickly note here, the Trinova with the tactical or speed can be the name of the game for SEQUOIA. They're able to turn this one around. Two members already dropping on all gas, no brakes, going to reverses them, and this is a quick first checkpoint. As we mentioned before, moving forward could always be a valid strategy, and the simple fact that two members drop from all gas with some long respawn time, SEQUOIA gets an easy checkpoint.
Crab Tank ready to go for these dualies as well, and they end up getting picked off by Archer on the machine, playing on this bottom left side, using that Booyah Bomb, tried to keep themselves alive and help out their team on the other side of the map. Rainmaker did reset though, so you have to be careful when pushing up. Zuka trying to zone everyone else out. Crab going to find the pick onto Archer though, slows down SEQUOIA.
Yeah, it's going to slow down SEQUOIA's push a little. Oh, actually, might slow it down a lot more, actually, as two members dropping on the side of SEQUOIA. A nice find! What the heck was that, Juju? Juju finding a pick all the way from a very deceptive Crab Tank location, and this is now pedal to the metal for all gas, no brakes. If they're able to get that first checkpoint, they might be getting pressured up just a tiny bit there, but they're all going around each other and trying to make sure that they carve out a path as much as they can. SEQUOIA trying to just paint over it to prevent that from happening. And just look at the amount of ink. Look at these well-placed triple ink strikes, Vapor. Trying to displace the Rainmaker, but it's just not going to be enough. This should be checkpoint.
Yeah, you gotta go into fourth gear a little bit earlier. They are able to get the checkpoint, but they need to find a little bit more to grab that lead, which they're finding a few picks onto SEQUOIA, not before losing their dually. So here comes the missiles from Eva, though, popping them, but the Rainmaker is going to reset in return.
The Rainmaker is going to reset, but that's not the worst thing for a reset if you're all gas, no brakes, because now you can start resetting everything else, and now get everything down there. It's going to be a delayed triple. This is the lead flip. This could be a lot more. There has to be the pick. The T-Tech takes him out, and the Rainmaker is stalled at 12 points remaining. And look at where all gas, no brakes was. There's no control of that territory around the pedestal, which allows SEQUOIA to return it back in their direction.
Do you hear a few things?
Hear what exactly?
Hey, you don't need to know. Can we get an F in the chat for some spectator DCs? Press F to pay respects.
Things were getting so tense.
They were. Oh no. We're getting stared at, guys.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no.
Lots of spinning around there. I think we all know the feeling, and I think they want to hide in their squid after realizing this spectator DC just coming in at the worst time, because what we just saw there, Vapor, was a swing the other direction from all gas, no brakes, and able to take it down 12 points away. A clutch find by the T-Tech on SEQUOIA to pretty much prolong the push even further. They had all control around that Rainmaker, and we just don't know what's gonna happen next. It's Rainmaker. Things could easily swing in either direction.
Yeah, it is Rainmaker. It can go anywhere that any team wants it to go. All gas, no brakes. Yeah, they went into fourth gear on that last push, but they might slow back down. They might go back into that second gear that they've been in throughout the pregame, but you really have to be careful.
Yeah, it's just you can really tell with all gas, no brakes. They were trying to go maybe a little too fast in the get-go, which basically allowed the free checkpoint for SEQUOIA to get things going. And what ended up happening there from the get-go was, well, we we need to slow down just a tiny bit. We don't want to always be hitting the gas all the darn time. We gotta slow down, compose ourselves, and be able to take this one minute by minute. And we got the sense that all gas the rigs finally got to that. And then, of course, for all of us here in the viewers and in the spectator side, we have to, open up the book of Choose Your Adventure once again.
Yeah, so it does seem like we are having some technical difficulties on the end of our production. So we'll be back shortly, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen throughout here.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys in a bit here. We're gonna adjust these real. We're gonna adjust this real quick. But when we come back, hopefully we'll figure out what the results will be.
Yeah.